Restaurants Canada is the latest to condemn the tariff, saying the move will hurt workers on both sides of the border. Let's go to Kris Barnier. He's the Vice President, Central Canada with Restaurants Canada. Kris, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
So we think a lot about, obviously, the auto sector with the U.S., energy, metals industries. Restaurants and food providers are affected by the tariffs as well. So let's start, if you don't mind, with the broader strokes. Remind us how big of a footprint your company has in Canada and how much restaurants actually contribute to the Canadian economy.
Well, Restaurants Canada, we represent restaurants from coast to coast. When you're thinking about even just the province of Ontario, we're about a $45 billion industry in this province alone. Across the country, we employ about 1.2 million people. So it is a huge industry, very significant. The last few years have been really, really difficult for our industry, going through COVID and through an affordability crisis, where pre-pandemic, you would have had about 12% of restaurant companies at any given time saying, I'm barely breaking even or are losing money. And today that's north of 50%. And why that is well, all of our major cost centers, food, wages, rents, all those things are up in the 20-25% range over the past few years alone. At the same time, per capita spending in every province has fallen. And in Ontario, for example, it's down from about $2,600 pre-pandemic to $2,400 per capita in real spending. For a tariff war, it's going to impact our industry in a number of ways, but really the two big ones are, first, you're going to see the cost of certain things go up in the food side. And as the trade war gets worse, we will see more products being impacted. That's going to raise the cost of running a restaurant. The other one that's perhaps even more scary is we know through the affordability crisis, about 80% of Canadians are saying, yes, absolutely, I'm trying to do things to save money. The top two things that they're doing are going to restaurants less and takeout less. And as we go through a tariff war, spending is going to continue to track in restaurants, and we're going to need a lot of help from government to make sure that our industry can continue to protect jobs.
Okay, before we get to that, I'm wondering, is it the American tariffs that will hurt more or the retaliatory tariffs that Canada has imposed? Because I understand, and from the long list that they've put out, it affects a lot of agricultural things that the restaurants would rely on.
A lot of it is going to be on the retaliatory side, and it is going to be some of the food product things. But, one of the things that we're seeing in every province across Canada is governments are taking U.S. booze off the shelves. Not so much of an impact on the beer side, but on wines, that there is an impact there. And on spirits, some of those things can be replaced. But, when you're changing up your menus, some of those Canadian or alternatives from other countries are going to be a little bit more expensive, and you're having to rework menus. You're having to retrain staff. So there's all those costs there. Have to give significant credit to the Ontario government, because one of the things we asked them to do in anticipation of that is, and again, to their credit, during the pandemic, the Ford government gave Ontario restaurants a 10% discount on LCBO purchases, significant for our industry. And once cabinet gets sworn in and the government is starting to move on its strategy to help businesses impacted by tariffs, that's going to go from 10 to 15. So that absolutely is going to help our industry weather that. And that is something that we hope to see other governments across Canada match. And we will be looking for potentially payroll supports. We encourage everything that the governments across Canada are doing on interprovincial trade and things that they can do to give us relief on payroll taxes and help us protect jobs. Those are all going to be welcomed.
Part of a complicating factor, I would see, is that now the LCBO, which your restaurants would have to order from, I would imagine, is taking American alcohol off the shelves. Does that mean it's not available to restaurants? And then is that another workaround that restaurant owners have to deal with?
Yes, so restaurants, we buy the bulk of our alcohol, at least wines, spirits, ready to drink beverages through the LCBO. that's what we have to do. Now, certainly we can purchase craft beers and Ontario wines directly from the producers, but that's the way Ontario works. So taking American alcohol off the shelves, it's not going to be that big of an impact on beer, but where we definitely do feel it is somewhat on the wines and definitely on certain spirits, spirit products. So that what that means is where there are alternatives from Ontario and for other places, restaurants are pivoting to that. And certainly a lot of our restaurant companies, they're saying, hey, we want to do our part to be Team Canada. So where we can bring in more of those Ontario wines and where we can promote Ontario and Canadian craft beer, absolutely, we want to do that, but it does come at a cost. And again, that's where we really applaud what the Ford government had committed to do during the election, which is give us a deeper discount on our LCBO purchases. So where we're going to see our costs go up because that U.S. booze is not available, we'll see costs on other alcohol products come down. So that's going to help our industry weather that. And that is something that that we've been looking for a while. And to the credit of the Ontario government, that's really going to help our industry out, and we thank them for that.
Got it. Kris Barnier, good to have you, sir. I've got to leave the conversation there, but thank you.